Riley Factora is a 5-time regional champion and is currently ranked #1 in the North American circuit. He has set aside his time to create a course just for you to watch, and we have decided to make it free. If you're trying to get really good at Pokemon, click that link tree in the description. Let's get in the course.
How to build teams that get first place. And this is going to be very important, a prerequisite of what we're about to talk about. If you don't know these 3 things ahead of time, you're going to fail. And this is why most people fail or don't build good teams. And the first is limiting availability. And what that means is a lot of people go, I don't want to use Landorus, or I don't want to use Fluttermane, or I don't want to use Zacian, or I don't want to use Xerneas or Groudon because it's standard. I don't want to use the standard team or the standard Pokemon. And what that does is it, as a player, if you want to be the best ever in the game, you have to know exactly how all of the available Pokemon work, regardless of popularity or not. And so instead of, maybe a new metagame comes up and you're looking at the top, 10 Pokemon or something, and then you write them down and you're like, oh, Zacian looks cool or something, or really want to use that. You don't want to necessarily look at the Pokemon based on their names or pictures or even the distraction popularity of them. So let's look at one of the metagames. Let's look at the older metagames, for example. That way you can apply it to every single year, because this works for every single year. And so let's look at like maybe VGC 2018, right? Landorus, Finny, Cresselia, Coco, Charizard. You're like, oh, I kind of want to use Charizard. It looks cool. I've seen it, and basically you don't want to use a Pokemon based on, again, their picture or name. You want to use it based on their statistics. And so instead of looking at a metagame like this or an available list like this, you would go Pokemon A, Pokemon B, Pokemon C, and you wouldn't look at this. You would, and you could also do the same for the move sets too, right? So you don't look at the move Earthquake, or you don't look at the move name Rock Slide, but instead you can go move A, move B, and then move A. What does move A do? Does X amount of damage to all the Pokemon on the field, right? Rock Slide does X amount of damage to the opposing 2 Pokemon, and this is how much damage it does to the top 20 Pokemon. Okay, and you can use it like that. And what that will do is it'll make sure that you don't limit your teams, right? And you don't want to say, hey, I don't want to use Landorus, or I do want to use Landorus because it's popular right now. We will be talking about how to use that in just a second. But you want to be saying, I'm going to use Pokemon A, and, I don't care, regardless of, if it's popular or standard. I'm just going to use it because I need to know exactly what is happening. I need to understand what's happening with other players. Why are they using it? How it works in the metagame. Is there an optimal Pokemon or combination of Pokemon? And when I say optimal, there might not always be a team that covers every single thing, but there might be a team that has a higher win rate or wins more than loses. If you look at 2 Pokemon, these 2 Pokemon in the field might have, let's just say, 20 advantageous situations where, and it might have only 3 situations where it's not good versus the top 20 Pokemon. And then another set of duos might have, only 5 situations where it's in a good spot, and it might have 10 situations where it's in a bad spot. And so you can look at that number as a ratio. So the second is not practicing with the popular teams. It's very important that you use what's popular. So for example, you would look at Victory Road VGC, and you can see, what teams are winning. And so you would open all of these tabs. Or if you're just, keeping track of what's been going on, you can see teams that, okay, these are the ones that are top 8, right? Flutter Main's at the top. Every team has Flutter Main in this last one. A lot of these teams have Flutter Main. A lot of these teams have Amoonguss too, right? Or you might see a lot of Arcanines or Chios or a good fire type right here in the slot. And we'll get into this in just a second. This will be on the next slide. And the last one is not first mastering playing optimally. And now what that means is, or if you didn't know, or knowing if you didn't play optimally. A lot of you will not play optimally right now, or don't know how to play optimally. And to this day, I still don't play optimally all the time, but I'll still understand whether, if I didn't play optimally, I'll still understand after the game, oh, I did not play optimally. Okay. And if you aren't first making the optimal plays almost every single time, maybe like 90%, 95% of the time, then you're not going to know how to team build. And the problem with that is you must first have a team to play. So we're going to go through what team you should start with, and then you're going to master this team building for a little bit. You're going to go to the playing, and you're going to master playing optimally, and then you can come back to team building. Once you've known and mastered your plays, you know, okay, I'm consistently making good plays, then it's going to help you, and you're going to revisit this section of the team building. Okay, so what's step 1? Well, the first step, and a lot of people will disagree with me, or I've told a lot of people this, and they'll be like, what? This is insane. This is it's extremely important, and the way I'm going to explain this to you is to copy the best teams that are consistently winning tournaments in the format. And not necessarily you're going to say, hey, I'm going to copy, the best team right now, and this is your team, or this is my team, or this is, I'm going to start using this. No, you're only copying it to understand, not necessarily to use, but to understand. And here's a really good example of why you want to do this. If you guys have watched Squid Game, you'll probably know this game. If you haven't watched this episode, it's on Netflix. And basically what the game is on Squid Game is there's a group of players that need to walk across this bridge, and every step they either need to choose left or right, and one of these glass floors will break if you jump onto it. So they need to jump to get to the other side. Okay, and you don't know which ones are going to break and which ones are not going to break. And so if you jump and it breaks and you fall, you have to choose left or right. If you choose left and it breaks, and boom, you fall, you're dead, right? And so you'll see the issue here is that if you're going first, the people in the front of the group don't know which one is glass or solid glass, or which one is gonna break, right? You see, this is one of the first interactions right here. And so this guy's gonna jump, boom, okay, and it shattered and he died, okay? But as towards the end, as players go on, you'll start to see that the players in the back, or the players that are going second and further back, are seeing what happens from the first group of players, and they know which steps to take now. Okay, and so you might see a path. Okay, this glass was broken, and then this glass was not broken. I'm going to go left, right, because the people in front of me were able to figure that out and accomplish that. They went through the trials and tribulations already, and the hardships to get there. Okay, and so it's the same exact thing here. There are other people that have already went through hundreds and hundreds of hours of playtesting and seen which ones work, which combinations work, which movesets work, which items work, which abilities work, and then which ones are winning over time. Okay, and so what you want to do is you want to go, you're going to go to Victory Road or wherever they're posting wins, official wins, And I'm not talking about like these local tournaments, or I'm not talking about like a Showdown, you know, those tournament ones inside of Showdown. I'm talking about official events where there's, you know, a lot of people. You know, the global challenge, especially, and you know, regionals, especially, and international championships. Okay, so what you would want to do is open up some of these tabs, like the Europe. You know, that's a big one of the biggest tournaments. And then you can look at, okay, what combinations of Pokemon, or what do I see any teams that are winning or doing or top cutting? Hey, one of the buttons on Nugget Bridge is broken, so you're gonna have to manually go to page 6. And so let's see if we can get some here. So Sydney regionals, here's Fort Wayne regionals, right? And so let's take a look at some of the commonalities here. Once these load, as we can see, you know, Fluttermane, Amoonguss. Okay, so Fluttermane, Amoonguss right there, we've seen it in the top 5 places. So what are you going to use? You're going to use Fluttermane, Amoonguss, because it has already proven to consistently win, especially over better players. There are a lot of good players at the tournament. Okay, and you know, I'm sure we can see some more Fluttermane, Amoonguss right here at the top 3, top 2. And there's more right here. A lot of Fluttermane on all these slots. Okay, Fluttermane, Amoonguss, you're seeing a lot of those. And so, you know, one of the cores that we see consistently pop up is, you know, Fluttermane, Amoonguss, Fire type, Palafin. And then you've got King Gambit and Dragonite here. And, you know, here we got the Tinglu version. And so you're going to want to copy one of these, right? The European was probably the biggest one out of here. So what I would do is I would take this team, right? And I would literally copy it and put it into Showdown. Okay, import here, paste, save. Now you're not gonna have the spreads. Sometimes the players will post the spreads online. So for example, you know, Paul, if you search through his Twitter, he might have posted. I know he didn't post it. So if you don't have availability to that, your next step on what you're going to do is you're going to go to smoggin.com/stats, and then you're going to go to the most recent month, and then you're going to go to moveset, and then you're going to go to the VGC. And I never click on these 0, 1500, 1630. So what this means is the players who win or have the highest ladder ranking, we're only taking stats from there. So this is what the people who are winning over time are using. Okay, you know, 21% are using just a timid 252 Fluttermane, but you'll see some of the other ones, right? Now, if you've watched the game too, if you watch the Europe International Challenge, we know that this isn't a 252 timid spread. So you could probably maybe for now just take one of these, 84, 100, 116, and then we're going to change it later if needed. So you're going to go 84, 100, 116, 4, 204, and then we're going to make this modest because we know it's modest based on, you know, if you've watched the international championships and we've seen some of the damage calcs. And we also know, yeah, I mean, we know that Paul used this, this moveset. And, you know, maybe you'll see something like Energy Ball too and Power Gem. Don't use those yet. We're going to make changes later. And you're just going to do that for everyone here. And then what you're going to do is to, again, not make any changes until you've played at least 300 games of practice with it. You know, the better player you are, you probably don't need 300 games, but if you are just starting out or if you haven't been consistently getting first place at tournaments yet, then you're probably going to need 300 games. And so what this is going to do by grinding through all of these games, it's going to answer a lot of your main questions, right? And, you know, a lot of the questions that I see in the Showdown chat is like, should I use this Pokemon? Should I use this team? What beats this Pokemon or what beats this duo? You know, what should I change, for example? And so you're gonna know exactly what beats this team. Okay, you're gonna say, what is it weak to? You know, is it weak to like water, Terra Water Chiyu with Nasty Plot and Safety Goggles or something? And it's going to allow you to number one, know what to counter, or if you want to use the team or just make slight changes to it based on what you've been weak to, it's going to let you do that. And another thing it's going to let you do is you're just going to understand by using what's popular. And in order to win, you have to beat other players, right? Consistently beat other players. And to beat other players, you're going to have to understand how these players think. And what's going to happen is you're going to understand what a lot of the popular players, or what's popular right now. You're just going to understand their brain and their mindset because you know how the team works, right? Again, if you hate the team or if you hate using standard, it doesn't matter whether you hate it or love it. You have to use it to understand it if you want to be the best of the best at this game. And so step 2, after you've copied this team onto your team builder, you know, you're going to go ahead and play games on Showdown here. And so, for example, we're going to go play on Show. By the way, I'm not a Verlisify fan. It's just a joke to be funny. So what you're going to do is, so you're going to track every single game after you practice. Okay. So on Showdown, right? You're going to play a game. And what a lot of people do is, you know, they exit the game and then they play the next one. They click on the next one. And so you don't want to do that because you're going to be, you're not able to improve. So what I would do is, you know, make an Excel sheet, something like this, practice. And so let's say you're using the Palafin Balance team, right? And then you might also write down what you were using exactly. Arcanine, Amoonguss, Roaring Moon, Tinglu, and then you can write, you know, game 1, games, and so this will be 1, 2, right? And then you can make you can keep track of what happened. So your wins, I don't really keep track of that, but the losses, you can be like, okay, you'll write down one of 3 things, right? Did I lose because of a misplay? Did I lose because of hacks? Maybe game 2 you lost because of hacks. Maybe you lost because of hacks again. Maybe a misplay, and then a misplay, and then it was a team issue. And then here you can write down, you know, what was the team now that you lost to, right? Maybe it's Water Goggles Chiyu. Now, be very, very careful when you write stuff like this down, because you're going to be like, oh, I lost to this team. A lot of people will say, oh, I lost hacks, I lost hacks. Oh, I lost because of the team. Again, going back to the mindset and blaming everything else but yourself, 80 to 90% of this will be because of a misplay. Now, you're not going to understand. A lot of you will not understand the misplays yet, or what you should have done, because most of the time will be because, you know, you led wrong, or you clicked the wrong moves on the wrong Pokemon. You had bad board positioning. You didn't know which Mon on your side needed to KO their Mon. Okay, you didn't know which Mons to save, or you didn't know which Mons to sack. You let this Mon take too much damage. There's many different ways to misplay, and a lot of you just don't know that yet. So be very careful. If you do lose and you're not sure whether you misplayed or if it was a team issue, or if it's hacks, people will say, "Oh, I missed Heat Wave." Is that really a hacks? No, that's actually a misplay, and that misplay is within the team building. We decided to use that team. So, for example, this team had Icicle Crash, which had a 90% chance to miss. While technically it can be kind of hacks, you know, that's still a misplay. And so, for example, you know, just write down, if you don't know, write down what you think you might lose at, especially if you can consistently lose to it, or if you are consistently losing to this core or team. and there really is no play that you could have made or no lead that you could have played better. And that's a good thing, because what that will do is, by using what's popular, you'll understand how to start answering these questions. You'll know whether you should use this Pokemon or that Pokemon. You'll be like, okay, now I can start using this because it's consistently winning, or it's consistently countering the metagame or what's popular. Okay. A lot of times what I'll do is, within this team builder, is I'll actually write down what the team was weak to. So I'll practice with a team. And so, for example, this team is weak to, Murkrow or Haze Chien-Pao or Bundle Yawn, or this team's like weak to Amoonguss, or this core was, right? Or this team is weak to Grass Ceruledge or Bundle of Abomasnow or Psyspam, right? And let's see some of the older formats that I had. For example, this team was weak to Reshiram, right? Or, there was like a Thundurus Speed Tie. Like, was there really anything I could have done? Maybe there was some plays that I could have done against Thundurus, such as, Zacian, or maybe set up a Reflect, and then Kyogre can KO it. And now step 3, after you've played 300 games, or more. Sometimes I play like 500 or plus games with the same exact team. Then you're going to start reiterating here, right? And so, for example, 2015, you were using, Kanga, Landorus, Heatran, Amoonguss, or maybe, 2017, you're using Snorlax, Mimikyu, and you've understood. Now you can go back and you can do this exact thing with every single popular team. And so that's what I would do every single year. Is I would understand, okay, I understood how to play Garchomp Celesteela in 2017. 2016, I understood how to play Groudon Xerneas. I understood how to play Kyogre. I understood how to play Dual Primals. In 2014, I understood how to play, Kangaskhan, Salamence stuff. I understood how to play the Charizard teams, and I understood how to play the Mega Mawile teams. Okay. And then in let's just say 2020, or this last year, I understood how to play, Zacian. I understood how to play Zacian with the combos, right? So Zacian Kyogre, and then another Zacian Horse, right? I understood how to play the Ghost Horse. I understood how to play the Ice Horse. And so you're gonna, and then again, there was also Eviltal in 2020. No, 2019, and then 2016, right? So, but which cores and which popular teams there are that a lot of people are using, and then okay, I have 300 games here, or I have 1,000 games on here, I have 1,000 games on here, I have 1,000 games on here, without any changes. I'm using what's popular or what people have proven to work, and then now I can start reiterating, okay? And one of the examples of that was, a lot of people were using, or not many people were actually using Ludicolo in 2016, but if they did use Ludicolo, you would assume that you would use Swift Swim, so you can outspeed like Kyogre, right? And then Grass Knot it and KO it, but you'll be able to start thinking outside of the box, okay? And, because I was using Groudon Xerneas for most of the year, you'd be like, okay, well, Groudon Xerneas didn't have that many counters in the beginning of the year, and then towards the end, people were figuring it out by Nationals and by Worlds. Bronzong Kyogre was the play in order to beat that. And Groudon Xerneas teams didn't really have the best answer to Bronzong Kyogre. They had to use, Smeargle, which wasn't extremely consistent versus it. And so, one of the Pokemon that did counter that just by, playing and understanding the metagame and just by looking at what's available is, why don't I just use Rain Dish on Ludicolo? Because I don't want to take out that much from a Gyro Ball. Let me just go the minimum speed EVs, because I didn't want to, again, take that much from Gyro Ball. I want to take basically nothing. And then, how can I kill the Kyogre, right? How can I do as much damage to it? By taking nothing from Bronzong, by also threatening the Bronzong, right? And so that's how I came up with this. I ended up using Miracle Seed because I was doing a lot of the damage calculations, and we'll get into optimizing spreads later. But how, and then this would also it could also come in on Groudons, on Groudon Precipice Blade as well, if I were facing those types of teams, a Groudon Bronzong type team. Okay. So now what you're going to do is your action steps is, again, it's written right here. First, copy the teams that are consistently winning. Play a lot of games with them, understand them, track everything that you're doing, and you can make more notes on here if you'd like to as well, or if you just like to make random notes, and then you're going to decide whether you use them or make the changes that will win. Now, for example, if you use the team, you feel like you've understood it, and now you're going to make a change, right? So for example, maybe Paul's team, you might make a change. You might be like, oh, okay, well, I'm now Haze a Palafin, Water Palafin. It's kind of tough against Dondozo because Dondozo Terra Grass now, so I don't really have that many opportunities to use Haze. Maybe I'll replace that with a move because I'm using Intimidate spam with Arcanine to beat that. Maybe Dondozos are starting to run Oblivious instead of Unaware, and I can't really Intimidate spam, and so I really need a more consistent way to counter it, right? And so, maybe you'll make a change, like such as the Clear Smog Amoonguss, or maybe even Grass Palafin, if you want to make that. But again, be really careful because a change like that, right? Let's just say you change Palafin to Grass now, Grass Terra. Is that going to help you lose? Is it going to worsen 2 other matchups, right? Because you might make this change and it might help against that one matchup that you were weak against, but it might worsen 2 or more matchups because your damage calcs for offensive water Palafin, that helped you beat, a lot of the Flutter Mains, a lot of the Arcanines, just even if you were at -1, just that extra damage over time, right? So just be really careful when you do make those changes.